Hi, you guys. Welcome to the Kirk Cameron Show. It's our Friday wrap-up of politics, world events, culture, and right now everybody's talking about the fact that Trump deployed hundreds and hundreds of Marines and thousands of the National Guard to Los Angeles to deal with all of the violent riots that are going on out there. I used to live in California, so I've got some things to say about this. I hope I can offer a perspective that's going to be helpful. James, I want you to roll the video.
Get down! Get down!
Oh! Oh, he got...
This looks to me like a scene from a bad apocalyptic movie where riots and wars are breaking out in some other country, because I'm not even seeing the American flag. I'm seeing other flags of other nations. And you know, this happened 5 years ago when we saw the BLM riots during COVID. It's like a sequel to what we saw with the Chaz Zone and what we saw in Minneapolis, where you have rioters and rebels who are taking over blocks of cities, lighting them on fire, destroying federal buildings, assaulting law enforcement officers. And then the mayor of Minneapolis calls it a summer of love. Literally. If the producers of this movie are really looking to make a sequel by paying agitators to now come into Los Angeles, which is what Trump said he believes this is all about, this isn't an organic demonstration of American-loving people in a neighborhood who have just started a demonstration. These are masked motorcycle riders coming in, lighting things on fire and waving flags and demonstrating their political allegiance is not to the United States of America, but to other nations, as they give the finger to law enforcement and they exult in destruction and chaos and lawlessness, surrounded by plumes of fire and smoke rising from cars on fire. I mean, that's the movie poster if they're going to make the sequel. And Trump and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, is saying no to the sequel. We're not going to do that again. This is an image of rebellion and insurrection, invasion, whatever you want to call it. I mean, these are people who are here illegally, waving flags of other nations in defiance of American law and order. Now, it's one thing to have a peaceful protest, a legitimate protest. That's one of the rights we as American citizens have. But when it crosses a line and you begin assaulting law enforcement officers, you begin looting, you begin damaging people's property, that now equals a crime, especially because you're an illegal alien who has come here. Now, there are some people who are legitimately sympathetic toward people who have come here from other countries seeking asylum because their countries are so bad. But people also are not stupid enough to think that all illegal immigrants are harmless. Many of them have been demonstrated to already be dangerous and violent. And we've seen these stories in the news where horrible, violent, and fatal crimes have been committed by many of these people who come in, fighting age men from countries all over the world, undocumented, and they go to places like California, these asylum states, where maybe they get arrested, maybe they don't. If they do, they get let right back out again. It's like the script has been written and they're going for Summer of Love Part 2. All of this began when over 1,000 rioters surrounded a building in Paramount, California, protesting the work of the Immigration Control Enforcement Department. And ICE said that their work was, quote, to arrest criminal aliens, including gang members, drug traffickers, and those with a history of assault, cruelty to children, domestic violence, robbery, and smuggling. You would think that the people in that neighborhood would say thank you. but they don't, because most of the people that are involved in these riots are not from there. They're from other places, other countries. I remember during the COVID riots 5 years ago in Indianapolis, one of the top guys in the police department had told me that when he would arrest some of these violent rioters who were throwing bricks at cop cars and injuring people, setting stuff on fire, found out they weren't from Indianapolis at all. They were in fact from other countries in Europe, and that they were hired protesters, agitators, and violent people to escalate the violence, to create a crisis, and that they were paid extra if they got arrested. So these aren't even people from our own country being paid by others to burn cities to the ground. Why would people even do stuff like this? Well, it's actually a very thought out, careful plan. And if you know about Marxism and you know about the idea that you've got to get everybody fighting against one another across racial lines, across political lines, social lines, economic lines, so that they basically burn their own place down, then it's easy to take over and you can create something of a beautiful Marxist communist utopia out of the ashes. That's ultimately the plan. I know it sounds like a crazy conspiracy, but it's not. Just look it up. Some people look at this violence and they're saying, thank God, thank God someone's coming in to do something like this. Trump has sent in thousands of National Guard and 700 Marines as of the recording of this episode. And others are saying, no, it's an overreach. It's not his position to do that. And there's even talk about Governor Gavin Newsom being arrested. I think it's important for us to do a quick refresher on civil authority in the Bible. Civil government is God's idea. That's not a thing that the holy people should stay away from, government and politics. It's actually something God instituted as one of the main institutions right next to the family and the church. And listen to what the Apostle Paul says. Everyone must submit to governing authorities, because all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. Just understand this on the face of it. Civil authority is God's idea, and he's placed these people in position according to the good counsel of his will. Does that mean that they're all good, that they're all pure? No, it doesn't. But the institution and the positions are important. We'll keep reading. So anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and they will be punished. For the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. Would you like to live without fear of the authorities? Do what's right, and they will honor you. The authorities are God's servants sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you. They are God's servants, sent for the very purpose of punishing those who do what is wrong. So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience. So we can try to pick that apart and say, well, wait a minute, but cops are bad, or not all cops are good. Some of them actually are doing the wrong things. Of course, we have a problem called sin in the human heart, and you can't fix that with laws. You can't fix that with a constitution. That's fixed only by the gospel and the Spirit of God working in the hearts of people. That's our job as the family of faith, is to get that medicine to go out and cure the cancer of selfishness, greed, power, lust, and envy. But as for civil authorities, God sends authorities in order to punish evil and protect the good. So in principle, the government is right to send in whatever forces necessary to protect the people and uphold law and order in states that can't protect or won't protect themselves. So we might ask the question, are they really being violent? Are they, or is their rage real, as Governor Newsom said 5 years ago with those protests? Do they have a point? Well, wait a minute. Who are they? First of all, these are nationals of other countries. They're exulting in violence and in chaos. They're giving the finger to law enforcement. These aren't peace-loving, Constitution-abiding citizens of the United States of America. This all looks exactly like Summer of Love Part 1 5 years ago, which was orchestrated and scripted with bad actors, paid agitators to unravel the American fabric. Listen to what Vice President J.D. Vance said about the things going on in Los Angeles in light of some saying, I think this is mostly peaceful. He said, so now we have foreign nationals with no legal right to be in the country waving foreign flags and assaulting law enforcement. If only we had a good word for that. We do have a word for that. Invasion. What do you think? I know lots and lots of people who look at this and they do see invasion. They do see an orchestrated rebellion. In fact, we also know that this kind of a riot is orchestrated and paid for by CHIRLA, the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights, LA. And they've gotten grants, but recently been canceled by the Department of Homeland Security. So in essence, Americans are actually paying for these riots, funding the cinder blocks and the violent agitators coming in. It's a theater show that we're not only watching, we are paying for. We've been seeing and feeling the shift in the American vibe now since the election. And I am really hoping that people are not duped by Summer of Love Part 2. I'm feeling a sense of common sense coming back into the hearts and minds of people saying, we don't want to go that direction. We've saw that movie before. It has a really terrible ending. We're going in a whole new direction. We're not going to accept bricks and Molotov cocktails in the name of love. And either is the current administration. I think that's a good thing. Speaking of being an American citizen, living in America probably means you're paying too much for health insurance. And it's insurance that doesn't necessarily care about you as much as the bottom line of their company. And that's why I love Christian healthcare ministries. CHM isn't insurance. It's a ministry of like-minded believers that share their health costs. So you get affordable pricing, you get the flexibility to choose any doctor you want, you're not locked into a network, and you get truly caring, kind customer service from real people you talk to on the phone. It's no wonder so many Christians have made the switch to CHM, just like me and my family. So explore your options and join today by going to chministries.org/Kirk. All right, James, what else is happening in the world?
All right, this first video is from a TikToker that got triggered because people were singing the national anthem in a restaurant.
I was in this restaurant minding my business and all the white people stood up and did this. It was giving the movie Get Out.
And you know what? I bet they prayed too and thanked God for their food and the blessing of living in America. This is amazing, isn't it? That people are sitting in a restaurant where you have people starting businesses and providing food for you, and you get to order off of a menu, and you can afford that in a country like the United States of America. Not to mention, this girl's words out her as clearly racist. Her thoughts about throwing shade at those who want to sing the national anthem, and likely is why many of these people came there, because they love that, not only demonstrates her hypocrisy, but also her ignorance. All right, James, what else we got?
All right, the next video is a TikToker who is essentially threatening the white refugees that are coming from South Africa, fleeing from violence. Take a look.
Good morning. This is for the South Africans who are going to be entering the United States. This is just a public service announcement. I just wanted to make you aware that the Black people who were students during apartheid, we're grandmas and grandpas now, and we have the ear of Gen Z. One more thing. I also want to let you know that our president, he has Secret Service. And you will not. I also want to tell you that Black people over here are empowered. These are just public service announcements. When you get here, sit your ass down and don't touch nothing. Because you don't have Secret Service. Okay. Now have the day you deserve.
This is the epitome of racism. You know, Ben Carson was right when he said to me that, Kirk, there is a racism industry. People actually profit off of this, and they stoke the fires of racism. What this woman is doing is she's actually making racist comments, violent comments toward people who have white skin. And what she's wanting to do is what the Bible warns us against doing, and that is she's trying to overcome past evil with more evil. It's also interesting to me that she is speaking about Africans coming over to the United States. She's telling Africans who just happen to have white skin and live on a farm, check yourself. It has nothing to do with African nationality or descent. It has to do with the color of your skin. And if we want this to go away, we've got to go back to the idea that the Bible gives us that there's only one race. It's the human race. And we've got to stop judging people based on our ancestors' sins or the color of their skin and evaluate people based on the content of their character. All right, what else?
All right, the next video is an ABC reporter who said that the riots are just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
That's unbelievable. I mean, when you see the rest of the story, when you see what has developed with 1,000 rioters coming in, waving flags of other countries, blowing cars up and assaulting law enforcement, you understand that this isn't just a car that caught on fire and a few passerbys checking it out, and then the government turning it into a full-blown confrontation with Marines and National Guards. But it is interesting. How do you know which narrative to believe? You know, the scriptures say that you think you understand the whole story until you hear the other guy's point of view. And then it gets filled in. I know this as a dad with kids. Sometimes we experience this in our relationships with a spouse where, you know, you've got your perspective, they've got their perspective. But when you hear the whole story and you look at the surrounding evidence, then the full narrative actually comes out. So we've got to be careful, especially in a day with AI. We can see things that look 100% real. Sounds like, you know, the old adage, if it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably a duck, unless it's AI, right? So it's difficult. And I think this is why we have to be very careful. We have to be quick to listen. We got to be slow to speak and slow to get angry, because others can use our impatience and our reactionary thinking and behavior against us and get us to do things that lead us into a trap. So that's why it's important to study the scriptures. Don't be captured by a spirit of fear. Be consumed with love, compassion, and then act with discernment and with courage, and find out all sides of the story as best you can. Do you ever wish that you could do more for the family of faith, but you're just not sure how? Well, here's some great news and an idea. You don't have to be a missionary. You don't have to be a pastor. Just by changing your everyday banking to America's Christian Credit Union, your deposits into your checking and your savings are going to be used as fuel to further kingdom work. like fueling adoption loans, fueling Christian education, church expansion, and helping moms in crisis pregnancies. This is a creative and easy way that believers can multiply their everyday impact. Right now, when you open a checking account with my promo code KIRK, you'll get a $200 deposit into that account. Plus, ACCU will donate a box of diapers to a local Christian pregnancy center. So visit americaschristiancu.com/Kirk and start doing more with your money. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. And James?
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when the next episode comes out. And leave us a comment in the comment section below so we can discuss that on the Monday episode. Have a good day.